What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rebel League. I'm your host, Daniel, with Channel Zero, reporting live from King Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Read the writing on the wall. So let's go ahead and get into it. The article that I found really interesting was this one on Edward Snowden getting his own Twitter account. So I know a lot of people are like, "What the fuck, Twitter? Like, who gives a damn, man?" It's like a whole bunch of girls on Twitter following the Jonas Brothers, which yes, that is the case. But there's also some other good stuff that happens on Twitter. So I think why this is important is because Edward Snowden is a very pivotal figure. For those of you who don't know who Edward Snowden is, he was a former employee of the NSA, the National Security Agency, and he is a whistleblower, and he released information showing that the government is spying on all of us, not necessarily spying, but they are using all of our private data, and not all of it, but they are using certain metadata like who we call, who's in our contact list, the things that we search for. They're using that. They're collecting that data across the board. Whether or not you are a suspected terrorist or there is a warrant involved from the court, it doesn't matter. We are all being having our information breached by corporations and the government working together. And that's what Edward Snowden revealed, which is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, which says that every American has the protection from illegal searches and seizures from the government or from any entity. So the fact that we're in this situation right now says a lot. So that's why I think this is important, because he's an important figure. He's on Twitter. So he's going to have some interesting things to say. But of course, I'm still very skeptical as a person that I am. The way that my mind works, I'm very skeptical. And so one of the questions that I have is, will this essentially be a better way for the NSA or other spy agencies to look into journalists and other Americans and citizens who are interested in what Edward Snowden has to say? The other question that I have is, if the NSA already is not being held accountable for its almost limitless powers, what's going to stop them from still finding out ways to increase that power? So is this just a way, again, for them to increase that power and to use more evidence in court against people that they do not agree with, especially journalists who should be protected under the First Amendment? The next thing that I want to talk about is Neil deGrasse Tyson. Really cool guy. For you guys that don't know who he is, he's an astrophysicist or a theoretical physicist, something like that. But he is the host of The Cosmos, which is a really great show, originally hosted by Carl Sagan, but he is the host of The Cosmos, and he has a lot of really interesting things to say, interesting perspectives. He had this really cool interview with GZA from Wu-Tang, who's one of my favorite rappers, and they just had this really cool back and forth. So of course, he has another cool back and forth with Edward Snowden. And when Edward Snowden finally gets on Twitter, like one of his tweets at Neil deGrasse Tyson was, like, keep being free or something like that. So it's really cool. You should also check out, there's an interview between both of them on Star Talk Radio. You should check out both parts of those interviews, of that interview. It's really interesting stuff, really enlightening stuff. So definitely check that out. Going back again to people who don't know about Edward Snowden, basically he was a former employee of the NSA, which is a spy intelligence agency that came to being after September 11th, 2001. And the revelations that came out of that whole issue is that, again, basically the government is taking all of our data and it's storing that data just in case it needs that. A lot of people don't care about privacy. A lot of people will say, well, if I'm not doing anything wrong, who cares if the government spies into me? Well, first off, you're wrong, because privacy is important. Why else do you lock the door, when you come home, or lock your car, or come home and when you're in the shower or taking a poo, you close the door? Because you value your privacy, because there are people who will take advantage of you in vulnerable positions. So why should the internet be any different? Edward Snowden says in that interview on Star Talk Radio that you guys should definitely check out. He says, that's like saying, I don't care if my First Amendment speech is violated because I have nothing to say. Exactly. That's such a myopic way of looking at things, because you're only looking at things based on what's happening right here and right now. You're not looking at, well, maybe in the future my viewpoint might change. Things change all the time. So what the government thinks that is threatening in one moment can be unthreatening in another moment. You never really know. So overall, I think this was a really cool interaction between, really enlightened minds. And I think that it's really interesting how enlightened minds kind of like, they're attracted to each other. And a lot of people who are really smart people are really into this whole Edward Snowden situation, because this is a situation of our time. This is one of the most pivotal issues of our time, is privacy and government surveillance. Are we okay with being a country where we have no privacy? And a lot of times you look around on social media and it almost seems as though we're giving up our privacy without even fighting for it. We don't even care. Like, we will willingly give up our privacy. And I think the last thing that I want to talk about, man, I'm definitely running over. The last thing I want to talk about is the NSA. What Edward Snowden was saying about the NSA. He had a really interesting point about how a lot of people are saying that what Edward Snowden did puts us at risk, but he's saying, on the other hand, that what the NSA is already doing, their tactics are already putting the US at risk, because what they're doing is they are cyber attacking China. China is cyber attacking us, yes, but when we cyber attack China, because the United States has more valuable assets, we have more to lose. So we should be protecting ourselves, but we're spending a lot of energy actually attacking China, which we don't get much in return because their assets are not as valuable as our assets. So I'm gonna leave that there. Hopefully this was, sort of interesting. I kind of rambled this time around. If you guys like this video, definitely like it, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I'm fucking stupid, whatever, but I'll catch you guys next time.